Tonight our special guest is Mark Stone. Mark is visiting New Zealand and playing the lead role in Don Giovanni for the New Zealand Opera Company. 3 more shows in Auckland with 4 more performances in Wellington to follow. Be watching tonight to enter our competition and be that lucky couple who win a double pass to Don Giovanni. We welcome Mark Stone as our special guest on The Beat Goes On. Welcome to The Beat Goes On, Mark Stone.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
An opera singer. Wow,
Yeah.
We are privileged. And an opera singer who is singing the wonderful role of Don Giovanni.
Yeah,
New Zealand Opera.
absolutely.
They're putting it on here in Auckland. Starts this very week.
We were in Christchurch last year, and we're coming up to the North Island this year to give it to the good people of Auckland and Wellington.
Wow.
Same production.
Now tell me about standing up there on stage and being the main star in a huge production like this. What does that feel like, Mark? I mean, you must feel very proud of yourself. You're a young man.
Yeah, I guess I am.
Born in 1969.
It's
Not a baby boomer, but
yeah. Well, it's as we said just before we went on camera. It's the wonderful thing about opera is that you can still be a young man in your mid-40s. So you have a different idea of what youth is. No, it's a great profession. I think what a lot of people don't realise or may not realise is quite how exhausting it is.
Yeah.
Just because the physical effort is required to sing in opera. Because unlike pop music and rock music, you don't have any microphones or amplification at all.
None at all.
No. So it's just entirely your voice getting over the orchestra to the back of the theatre, hopefully.
Wow, that's amazing, isn't it?
So after 3 hours of that...
You'd think with technology you might have a little lapel there and going through just a small system anyway. Did it give you a bit of support?
Certain less salubrious singers do use amplification, but you know, the pucker opera singers, like all those at New Zealand Opera, it's just them and their lungs.
It's a mark of pride to be able to, because you've learned the proper techniques to project your voice right to the back of the
Exactly that,
theatre.
yeah.
Hours of practice every day, or just?
It is, yes, it's a lot of practice, and it's what I say to my son. I have a 12-year-old son who's a keen singer as well. Maybe not so keen on opera, but what I say to him is that singing isn't something that just happens from the throat. It's something that happens from
right from the
even from the tips of your toes, really. Just it's your whole body. Which is why when I get to the end of a performance, actually my throat feels absolutely fresh as a daisy, but I can barely walk sometimes. Being the delicate flowers that we are as opera singers, we don't perform every night, so we always have rest days scheduled into our schedule.
But you're in Auckland on the 18th of September this week, and then you're through to the 28th. So how many actual shows would you be?
We do 5 in Auckland and 4 in Wellington.
Wow!
So just 9 over that period. And that's another thing that friends of mine that have regular jobs, as it were, are astonished by, that I go away for 2 months and they say, "Oh, well, how many performances do you do?" I say, "Oh, we do 9 performances." They look at me like I'm crazy.
You should be working every night.
You should be working harder. But we rehearse for a month whilst we're here.
Well, I grew up in the era. Well, I was 16 when the Beatles came in, so the imprint for us boys was that we were to become a pop group like the Beatles.
Yeah.
If you could sing, you were going to be a Beatles. But of course, times changed. So when you were born in 1969, with the Pavarottis of the world, they made opera sexy again, didn't they? And so what got you interested in being an opera singer?
Well, I had an interesting route to opera singing, I guess. I sang as a boy in the church choir, but then when I went to university, I studied maths, and I auditioned for the choir and didn't get in to my university choir. So I took a little bit of a break from singing via chartered accountancy and merchant banking. And then, obviously, there was something in me
made your fortune, and then it all got back
if only. No, it made me realise quite what I wanted to do with my life, actually, I think.
After being a chartered accountant.
Yes, yeah.
John Cleese always talked about chartered accountants.
Yes, exactly. Well, I didn't want to be a lion tamer, so I decided to be an opera singer instead.
But when was the time when you thought, gosh, I'd love to do opera?
When I was about 23, that's when I decided to start having lessons properly. And I actually studied with a New Zealand singing teacher who was in London at the time, called Glenys Blake, and she was a wonderful teacher and just sort of basically ripped me apart and rebuilt me And
started right from the beginning.
Yeah, exactly. And then I went to music college, and they did the same. So that was a 3-year course that I did, and then from then on, it's been treading the boards.
How did it happen that you made that great advance, that you're touring the world now?
It sounds a stupidly easy thing to say, but I think the biggest thing that any performer can have is to have the ambition and the desire to do it. And I think that
you had the drive, number one.
Yeah, the drive.
You had the voice, number two.
Yes, and actually it is number two, because if you listen to anyone's speaking voice as you're walking down the street, we all kind of sound the same. We all kind of have the same instrument. So it's the desire to want to do something with that instrument, I think. And when you're touched by a singer, you can be touched by the beauty of a voice, but actually what you're often touched by is what you think they're expressing.
Yes, exactly.
So,
but what was the moment when you thought, gosh, I've made it, I'm now on the international scene? What was that moment, and what was the play, or what was the opera?
I guess when I first performed at Covent Garden was a big thing for me, because it's my home international house, and that was in La Fanciulla del West by Puccini.
You were now in the circuit. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
that was the moment where you thought, gosh, I've made it.
Yes.
And how old were you when that happened?
Oh, I can't quite remember. Probably about early 30s.
Early 30s?
Yeah.
That's wonderful, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you've been doing it ever since. It hasn't changed.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it's been changing. But no, it's a constant process. You know, you leave college. I left college at the age of 28, but actually that's where the learning to sing process began anew, really.
So mathematics and chartered accountancy went out the window.
Well, I still help my son with his maths homework, but yeah, basically.
So what?
Good riddance.
But there is a connection between maths and music, isn't there? It's all vibration and numbers. And
the acoustics and the physics of music is a mathematical beast.
Yeah.
And I've met a lot of mathematicians who are also keen musicians, but equally there are a lot of musicians who say they hate maths, so maybe it only works one way.
Now, a lot of people always laugh at the fact that, you're halfway through a wonderful part in Don Giovanni and you're singing away and you're thinking about the laundry list. Does that happen? Your mind wanders?
No, because
I've got to do this tomorrow, don't I? And
no. If that happens, then you're sunk. You know, we're singing on stage for 3 hours,
yes,
and we have all the staging, the blocking to remember. We have the various props that we have to remember. At one point I have to come on with a knife for a knife fight, and I have been on stage for a knife fight and forgotten my knife before now, and that's not a good situation to be in. And obviously we're singing in Italian the whole time, we're having to be with the conductor. So yeah, if you start thinking about shopping or laundry, you're lost.
Exactly. Now, how much is confidence? Because you have to battle all sorts of, you're there, just today, I just don't feel that up to it. How do you get into the role? You get to the theatre at what time?
Well, in Don Giovanni, the structure of the piece is that there are the big musical numbers with the orchestra, and then in between them we have what's called recitative, which is, if you heard it, you'd be familiar with it. It's just a singer speaking or singing in a sort of speech-like pattern with just the harpsichord. And that's where most of the story happens.
Yes.
So before we get into our costume, have our makeup, we have what's called a recit call, which is a bit like a dialogue call. We just quickly run through every word that we say in the recit. It gets the words to the front of our mind, and it gets us just to say hello to everyone that we're going to be working with that evening. Because I've been in operas where I turn up to the opera house, and the first time I see my colleagues is when I see them on stage, and it's the most peculiar situation. So it's very good to settle yourself and just say, how are you today, before you actually meet them on stage.
Now, where are you based, Mark?
I'm based in the UK.
In the UK. So you could be in New Zealand 1 month and America the next.
Yeah, I've got to arrange my American visa on Friday, because that's the next trip.
What will you be doing in America?
I'm doing a Britain opera called Curlew River.
Gosh.
So we're taking that to San Francisco, New York and North Carolina.
So for our baby boomer viewers who love opera and always loved it, and they're listening to you tonight, Mark, and they're saying, gosh, I'd like to go and see Don Giovanni. It's in the Aotea Centre, starting this week, but you'll be doing 5 performances, but it's all on the internet, isn't it? They
Oh,
can
absolutely, yeah.
Look up NZ Opera.
Absolutely.
And then in Wellington, of course, the following month.
Yeah.
So before our baby boomer viewers get there, tell us, we know it's a Mozart play, Don Giovanni. It's about a man that, a bit of a hedonist, a bit of a
seducer. Yeah.
You know, I mean, you found that easy to do, Mark, or are you the opposite?
I couldn't possibly comment. No, I mean, this is available on the internet. My wife might see this. Yes, one of the first numbers actually is my servant Leporello goes through this catalogue. He has this catalogue in which he keeps a list of all my conquests, which he goes through. They're arranged by country, and the biggest one is, of course, in Spain, where it's 1,003. So, yeah. One shudders to think at the diseases he would have had. But
and he's still able to sing.
Yeah, exactly. Give another week.
Once he's outlined all his conquests, what
Yeah,
happens?
so the story starts with a rape. Although in our production there's a little contention as to quite how willing the other participant was, and the murder of this person's father, and basically everyone is trying to. His past is basically catching up with him throughout the whole opera. And in the traditional story, the commendatore, the father of Donna Anna, comes back to life at the end. His statue comes alive and drags him down to hell. But in our production, there's a slightly different twist, which I don't want to spoil people that come to see it, but it's a great take on it.
How long is the opera? People will be seated for how long?
It's about 3 hours.
3 hours?
Yeah, it's value for money.
It is. And but you're not singing all the time, of course.
No, I get it.
What percentage would you be singing?
I'm probably on stage about 70% of the time, I'd say.
70%.
I get a nice 15-minute slot in Act 2, which I quite look forward to, where I go and have a drink of water and watch the other people work for a change.
Now, what's the future for Mark Stone? What's how long do you have as an opera singer? I mean, the world is your oyster, isn't it? Young man, travelling the world.
Yeah,
I mean,
let's hope so. Let's hope so. I mean, as an opera singer, and as a baritone, I hope to be singing well into my 60s. And the great thing about the baritone role type is that it's full of villains and fathers, and obviously I'm just coming into my stride as far as those sorts of roles are concerned.
So you could specialise in, say, maybe 10 different operas for your whole life.
I mean,
Don Giovanni being one of them, and you just tour the world doing about 10 different operas. And once you've learnt them, you're basically home and home.
That is great. There are a few roles that become your calling cards, if you like, and you keep coming back to those. Of course, then it's a bit of a shock to the system when you have to learn a new one. But also those keep coming as well. I mean, even brand new operas. I did a brand new opera this year, which was very difficult to learn, but it's a great experience
once you've achieved it. And what about the audience? Are you seeing a change in audience? Is a younger audience coming through with opera? I mean, or is it just nice and steady? It builds its audience.
It's an interesting point actually, because I was once speaking to a guy who runs a CD label in England called Opera Rara. It's a wonderful CD label. They produce these fantastic recordings of strange operas that have never been heard before. And I said to him, because he was talking about his client base, I said to him, are you not worried that all your customers are going to be dead within 20 years because they're all so old? And he just looked at me and said, Mark, there will always be old people. So I think opera is I haven't seen a great change, is what I was coming to. The opera is something that you come to at a certain time in your life. And I'm not saying you have to be old, but I think it's not something that you would necessarily enjoy at the age of 20, but at the age of 30 and the age of 40, you start
to realise how beautiful it is. And, it is. You're caught one day, you'll hear this wonderful voice. What was that? And suddenly you're hooked.
But it's not the immediate quick fix of a pop song. And I love pop music. Probably not as much as my son, but I probably did when I was his age. But there's something fantastic about opera, because it's a combination of all the art forms.
Well, it's one of those wonderful arts where you're expressing constantly changing emotions that you don't get a chance to in pop music, do you? I mean, you go from anger to joy to triumph, and it's reflected in your voice, isn't it?
Yeah.
And if you look at people that have a shower, they seem to want to sing opera in the shower, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
But they never can.
Wonderful acoustics in the shower, though. Some of my best performances are in the shower.
But you can. You're actually living that dream of so many people who just want to be able to open their... and sing along with you, those wonderful triumphal moments that you get in opera.
Well, it is a wonderful freedom to be able to stand on a stage in front of 2,000 people and just let rip.
And I suppose it drives you mad at cocktail parties where they say, "Oh, you're a singer, an opera singer. Could you sing?
Give
something
us a number."
Yeah.
You're going to ask me to do that now?
No. Yes, in fact. But we can go one better, of course, Mark, that we've got a wonderful thing called YouTube. So
yes.
What about picking a little piece that you're singing from the YouTube and let our viewers know
the
wonderful voice of Mark Stone?
Well, there's a few clips. One that comes to mind is when I was in Philadelphia singing the role of Ford in Falstaff. And that's another great opera, another masterpiece. But yeah, check that out.
Let's have a listen to that.
Affiderei la mia birra a un tedesco. Otto il mio tesco a un olandese l'urco. La mia bottiglia d'acqua vita a un turco. Non mia moglie a se stessa. Bollai da sorte, quella brutta parola in cor mi torna. Fue, capron, pelusa tolte. Ah, ritorna. Non mi sfuggirai, no, sozzo, reo, dannato epicureo.
Wow.
Thank you.
Good on you, Mark. That's wonderful. So that's what people can expect, that wonderful voice of Mark Stone.
That's Verdi, so it's a slightly different style, but this is Mozart.
Yeah. And I think our viewers deserve to go along and see you as well. So what say we have a little competition?
Sure.
We give away a double pass. One lucky couple can
Great.
come and hear you sing. So email Gerard at thebeatgoeson.co.nz and put in the subject line Don Giovanni, and one lucky couple will be seeing Mark sing in Auckland very, very soon. Wow. It's going to be a great night.
I hope to see you there.
Mark, thank you for coming into The Beat Goes On.
Thanks a lot.